Welcome to the NAYLP Train-The-Trainer series. My name is Kimberly Wynn, and I'll be going through how to actually run the Youth Leadership Program. We just talked about what the program includes, and now we'll go through how you apply that to actually leading it. We're going to divide this into a few different parts. The first one is before the session. Before your session starts, you should know who your team is. There's you, the coordinator, I assume, who is the official leader and will receive credit for the program towards their Toastmasters designation, if you choose. The assistant coordinators will help organize and run the meetings with you. I highly recommend assigning one of them to managing the logistics. In other words, tracking the meeting by meeting, graduation fulfillments, roles taken by the participants, that kind of thing. Otherwise, you'll be run off your feet trying to keep track of everything and also make sure the meetings run on time. And it gets to be quite a lot for one person. And that's what your assistants are for. Every time I've done this with other Toastmasters, with one person at the front helping lead, because it's often the youth reading the script, and the one person in the back making note of who does and doesn't show up, who doesn't speak or take roles. It's really the best way to set it up, I found. You should have a coordinator kit, which NAYLP can provide if you need one. They devised it to help Toastmasters ensure that they had everything they needed to get their sessions underway. They do have to be returned after the session is completed, but they have basic items like timing devices, pens, paper, name tags, etc. for you to use to run your program. And of course, every program needs participants. If you are running a program with NAYLP, we'll manage most of the advertising and registration, which would mean that you would receive a list of registered participants and their registration forms, and away you go with them, basically. You can accept latecomers within the first 2 to 3 weeks at your discretion, but it cannot be in the 4th week or later. And the reason for that is that the participants have to do an icebreaker as part of their graduation criteria, and also be present for 5 of the 8 weeks. You can only do the icebreakers in weeks 2, 3, and 4. So the last week for icebreakers is the 4th week. If someone joins in the 3rd week, they probably won't have a speech ready to go right away. So the latest you can join and still get your icebreaker and your attendance criteria done is the 3rd week. But again, that's your discretion. You might cut it off at the 2nd or the 1st week, or maybe not even have latecomers at all. But those are some basic guidelines for latecomers for registration. During the meetings, you'll have to prepare them in advance, of course, which basically means you make sure the roles are all filled. You'll have some sort of role sign-up system for your participants. It might be a wall chart, or you might have a paper that you hand around the room at the end. As long as you transcribe the people that signed up to your agenda, make sure your agenda and the script are printed, that all your feedback slips and evaluation papers and your paperwork is printed out. All the material requirements for your weekly sessions are on the NAYLP coordinator site, which makes it a little bit easier to keep track. And all of the sections of the meeting, just make sure they're taken care of by someone. So the introduction activity, your educational, just make sure that there's a Toastmaster responsible for those. It doesn't have to be you, as long as it's someone responsible for them so they're run smoothly and taken care of. You might choose to have meeting themes or not. Really, you get to choose because you're the one putting in the effort. So whatever makes your life easier or makes it more fun for your participants, it's really your choice. Just have fun with it. It's specific to every coordinator to what they want to do. Communicating with your participants goes really towards preparing in advance. A tip is to call them a few days before the session to remind them and their parents, especially their parents, that they have a program session coming up and what their role is. And that helps keep your attendance higher. It helps keep your youth prepared for their roles when they arrive. And if they won't come, they do have the opportunity then to tell you that they're not going to be there, which they might not think to do otherwise. I'm sure you can imagine. So it's almost more for you than for them, but it ends up just being a win-win for everybody. Tracking the graduation criteria, super important. So the 8th week of the session is the graduation ceremony, where the participants that have filled their graduation criteria receive their certificates. But how will you know who will graduate? And how can you make sure that every participant has the opportunity to fill those requirements before the 8th session? This is why tracking their progress towards their criteria is important. And it's also why I recommended having someone assigned to managing the logistics. It is so helpful, it makes it so much easier. It's up to the youth to make sure that their criteria are filled. But using the meeting minute sheets and trackers gives you a really easy, at-a-glance view of who needs to do what to graduate. And that way you can give them helpful reminders of what needs to be done and how many people will or will not graduate if no one signs up for speeches, for example. And that tends to help them spur to action. And it also makes sure that everyone knows what they have to do in the coming weeks so that they can graduate. I will stress, though, again, it's up to the youth to ensure that they fill their own criteria. It's part of learning how to be a leader. But for you as a coordinator, keeping your own records will make it a lot easier to keep track, since the secretary and the meeting minutes may or may not be accurate at the end of your 8 weeks. Some of the special sections we'll talk about, it's really meeting content for the most part. So introductory activities, they might not seem important. I've seen sessions that have had them, of course. I have seen sessions where they've been dropped entirely as well. But I would say they're a very fun thing to have, and they give the youth an opportunity to get all that energy out and really settle into the session, especially if you're having a session after school on a weekday. It sets the tone for the session. If the first thing you do is fun, where everyone gets to know each other, and maybe you let them jump around a little bit, it sets the tone that this is an enjoyable event, gets them out of their chairs, and shows them that this is not school, because it really isn't. There's a higher level of expectation of autonomy and actually having fun at these sessions than at school, where they've been for like 6 or 7 hours already that day. For your educationals, a great thing to do is to have a Toastmaster come as a guest speaker and give the educational for you. The participants love to see new faces, and it makes the session so much more interesting, not just for them, but also for you. And it takes a load of responsibility off of your shoulders because you make someone else responsible for that. And they might have really good ways of educating to make it really interesting. You as a Toastmaster might find it actually interesting to watch. So I would recommend just trying it out. The participants always love it, and it's a win-win again for you and for them. Oh, the snack break. The beloved, famous snack break. When we get our feedback after sessions, it's one of the favorite things that they write about. Typically, it's a 10-minute long break in the middle of your session. You would bring some juice boxes and some granola bars. You can add the snack master role to help lessen the financial burden on the coordinator. Basically, participants with parental permission can be the ones responsible for bringing in the snacks, and it works really well. Use of the snack break is twofold. Partially, it renews the energy of everybody at this session, and it also gives everyone the opportunity to sign up for roles the next week and take care of other business. So if you have a wall chart for signups that they can write their name on, pair that up with a snack break and a loud reminder that they have to take roles to graduate. Basically, having people sign up has never been a problem at any of the sessions that I've ever assisted with or helped run, because we would literally stand at the front and just do the math for them that if there's 21 of you, we have 3 weeks for icebreakers. So 3 weeks, 21 people divided by 3 weeks, that's 7 people a week have to give a speech. So if 7 people don't sign up next week, 7 of you do not graduate. We have actually said that to our participants. And you really just feel the understanding of the situation sink in, and like instantly everyone will go over to the the wall chart and fill out, is my experience with things that like that. The snack break also gives you the opportunity to do basically anything that you need to do on the back end. So if you need to talk to the other coordinators, if you're having problems, work out glitches, students with questions can come up to you and ask. It's just a great addition to the program. Also gives people the chance to talk to each other, participants among themselves, so I would really recommend including it. And of course, graduation, which is a really special kind of meeting. I think it's been mentioned a couple times, the eighth week of the program is the graduation ceremony. Everyone who has filled out their graduation requirements at this point gets a certificate. And it's very focused on having the parents come in and see the changes that have happened in their children during this program. They're getting recognition for their effort and participation because they have really achieved something amazing if they're graduating. And it also gives them the opportunity to show their skills to their parents. It gives us the opportunity to get feedback. There's so much going on and so much fun on the last day. You really do not want to be relying on it to fill criteria. At most, you can have a couple students fill their last remaining speeches or table topics or something if some people are missing their items, but really the graduation day should be filled, or the graduation criteria should be filled by your 7th week so that your 8th week can be the last resort if anyone needs to fill their requirements. Now, when you're thinking your graduation week, think fun. Typically, we have a potluck and everyone will bring a dish. We'll have a debate so that the youth can debate a topic against their parents. Anything you can do to make it a good time is welcome because the last week, it's not about learning anymore. It's about celebrating what you've learned, showing it to the parents, getting feedback on the session, and celebrating this amazing program that you've run at that point. After your session is over, first, congratulations. This is an amazing thing, and we're so glad that you decided to do it. Second, there are some things that need to be done after the session ends, but they're all very calm things, so don't feel like it's a big hassle. At your last session, you should collect feedback from all the participants and their parents. There are feedback forms available, so you basically just print them out, bring them to your last session. Usually you'll include a 15-minute part of your agenda just to get feedback. Get everyone to fill out the form so that we know what we're doing well or what we could improve on. NAYLP, the committee, we will process all the comments and everything and keep the statistics. So don't worry about that. But we do need those forms back. And we also need statistics from you and your feedback as well. The feedback will be just your experience as a coordinator, and the statistics is things like the number of registrants versus the number of people that graduated, how many of them were repeat participants, and etc. And that's so that we can improve the program and get all the data on these sessions in one place. Like I said, there's a form with all of that already on it at the NAYLP coordinator site. Just make sure to fill it in and give it back so that we can keep quality information and have it available for people in the future. And also so that we can figure out what the best parts are and maybe what to change moving forward. The coordinator kit does have to be returned, and it's okay if not everything is there because some of the materials do get used up during the session, and that's fine. Things like the name tags, as long as we get the reusable parts back, and the box or the bag if it comes in a box or bag. And don't forget to celebrate. I mean, this is an amazing achievement that you have done. You're probably getting credit towards a Toastmasters designation. It's a great program with very high impact on the lives of the youth. It helps them develop their confidence and skills that really they'll be using for the rest of their lives. So pat yourself on the back and recognize this for what it is, and that's an amazing accomplishment. We're going to talk a little bit about the resources available to you, and once we've done that, you've done the Train-the-Trainer. So thank you for your interest in NAYLP. If you have any questions not answered by our online materials, feel free to email us at naylproject@gmail.com. You can visit any of our websites. There's a public site, naylp.ca, the coordinator site, coordinator.naylp.ca, and the committee site for committee members, but there's some information public on there as well, committee.naylp.ca. Feedback on any of our sites, programs, materials is appreciated, and if you have any materials to give to us, that is appreciated as well. And I will see you in the other videos.